Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Energy Inside Motion. I'm here today with my guest, Amelia Poamz.
Hey, thanks for having me.
You're welcome, man. So if I'll just give a brief introduction to the viewers.
My name is Amelia Poamz. I am a presenter, a workshop facilitator. I have a podcast. I basically talk professionally. I get paid to talk, which I love. That's what I've been good at.
So do I, love that one.
Love it, exactly. I love it. Living the dream.
So, when you were young, growing up, what made you want to go into the creative industry?
So when I was young, growing up, I knew I wanted to be on stage. I just knew it. My mum would take me to the theatre quite a lot. I got involved with my local theatre. They still run actually, an amazing program called ADP, it's Artist Development Program, where for 2 weeks over summer, bunch of young people, we put on our own show. We created it, wrote it, choreographed it, and it was on the main stage at Hackney Empire. And I just loved it. I love being in that environment, like working on something, being very practical, and then having that reward afterwards of like putting it on. And yeah, I just knew that I love the stage. I loved mics, I love lights. I just loved it. So yeah, I knew from then that I wanted to work within that, where I could use my creativity every day.
Okay. Do you have any family members that were also into any different creative outlets that sort of like influenced you in a way?
So my mom is an artist, but she hasn't picked up a paintbrush in a while. But because of that, she would always take me to art galleries as well, which I'm very, very grateful for that, because she would take me to establishments that was all about celebrating creativity. Like I mentioned before, going to the theatre, art galleries. I mean, she worked in a museum for a while as well. So I went to a lot of museums too. So I'd say she might not have realized it at the time, but really what she was doing was planting seeds that it's like, oh, you can actually build a career from this. So she was probably my main influence when it came to getting into the creative industry.
So when you were younger, obviously growing up, what sort of internal beliefs and values did your mum instill in you?
She is a resilient woman. So one thing I remember about my mom is if she believes something is wrong, she's gonna fight until the end of it to make sure she's heard, that justice is brought, even if it's like her not getting a refund that she was supposed to get. I have memories of like standing in shops until it's closed, of her going back and forth with the manager. But from those moments, I really gathered that it's like, you have to fight for what you think is right. And that definitely was instilled into me in terms of like integrity, justice, fairness, but also creativity as well, and community around that. So being in places and with people that can bring out that creativity in you as well, which she always was signing me up for things after school, or so I was like going drama class, ballet, dance, swimming, anything I mentioned I even like doing. She was like, right, you're gonna go, you're gonna do it. So I guess also with that, values of like just courage and bravery of just like, okay, just do it. And I definitely carry that with me now.
Obviously, it's a big journey internally for you. So what sort of ways have you grown internally as you've progressed?
Do you know what? I've grown internally through the challenging times in my life. I am no stranger to financial struggles. I remember I went through a time, I even wrote a whole poem around it, like just the worst time of my life, where facing eviction, financial issues, mental health issues, all of that. And I remember at the time I was like, yeah, at my lowest. But it was at that moment that I remember I read a book called The Power of Now, Eckhart Tolle. Changed my life genuinely. Up to this day, I always say it because it reminded me of the power of my perspective. And I was like, do you know what? I can't change these situations that are happening to me. And I'm also internalizing them too much, as if like I'm the failure, where I'm not. Actually, I'm being failed by systems and things like that. And obviously there is accountability still in it, but my accountability was how I was going to deal with these situations and how I was going to move forward and how I was going to let it change me. And it's like, you could go one way where you're like, give up on everything, which I was considering. And then I was like, no, actually, we're going to make this work in my favor somehow. And then from that moment, things started to go really well for me. So I'm still riding on that wave of just making things work in your favor.
So how have you learnt to like shift your energy as a person?
I wouldn't even call it shifting my energy. I think it's adapting to spaces and reading the room. I'm a big person on like read the room, emotional intelligence, self-awareness. And also because I have different jobs and different hats, it's about, okay, what does this space require of me? What does this person need from me? Like, how can I be the best mirror for that situation? Because I'm an ambivert, so a lot of people might think I'm an extrovert because of what I do, but I'm an ambivert. So it's like sometimes I could be very quiet and very chill and in the corner, and sometimes actually maybe that's what the vibe needs. I also like to assess rooms first before I just jump in, and so yeah, I'd say more just like reading the room. It's a big skill.
So what are some different ways that you've learnt to develop your self-confidence, and what advice do you have for creatives who are trying to improve their self-confidence?
So confidence is a muscle. I think it's a skill. It's something you practice. I think this whole, I mean, to a degree, you're born with your character, yes. But I've been asked, like, how are you so confident today? And I'm like, because I practiced it, getting up on stage from a young age. That required courage, confidence. And it's a muscle that I kept using. And the more you do it, you're like, oh, nothing bad happens. Or actually, I did mess up my lines, but nothing bad happened. Or actually, okay, it did go wrong, but I still survived. And I think sometimes we like the confidence we need to do things, we're so worried about it going wrong. But so what? Like, so what? So that's what I'd say to creatives. So what? If it doesn't go your way, make it work in your favor. Just practice it. And I think a lot of us are very scared to be seen trying nowadays because of very polished social media feeds. And it's like we think that we have to have it right straight away when there's so much beauty in just trying, and you're not going to be perfect straight away. That's okay. The journey is the gold. You know what I mean, basically.
What are some ways that you've learnt to develop like a strong discernment within yourself?
By making mistakes. I love that word discernment as well, because again, it's a skill you have to sharpen. And I think it's so linked to your intuition and listening to that inner voice where you might think, is this really it? Is this right? And there's times I've doubted my intuition, and it's always come back round that like, I should have listened. I knew it. And the thing is, and I was having a conversation with my friend about this, there's a thin line between insecurity and intuition sometimes. So that little voice of doubt could just be coming from insecurity. And like not leaning in too much to that, but then fine tuning it to actually listen to your intuition. Because I'm big on discernment. Not everything is a yes. Not everything you need to be saying yes to. And not everyone you need to be saying yes to.
Because you're fine-tuning your frequency.
Absolutely. And I think, yeah. And that's where you meet the people that you really do connect with, because you're on that level. Do you know what I mean? But when you're just a bit too like, just kind of, you got to learn to filter out what's for you and what's not for you.
What ways do you keep yourself grounded?
How do I keep myself grounded? Family, being around people that have known me right from the beginning. Also, exercise keeps me very grounded, because actually every day is a blessing that my body's still working. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, let me go back to basics. Also, gratitude journaling. When I work with young people, I would start most of the workshops when I'm designing them with gratitude journaling. We're going to start off this with what we're grateful for, because then that way we're operating from a space of abundance as opposed to lack and scarcity mindset. And again, I'm not enough falls into that scarcity mindset, or there's not enough room for me, or whatever. So actually, gratitude, I think, really is the best way to keep you grounded.
So obviously you've come a long way in terms of being multifaceted and doing different roles. What's one thing that you wish you knew when you were younger that you know now?
I wish I knew that I had ADHD when I was younger. That's actually something I've learned recently, got my diagnosis.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it would have given me a lot more grace. Like, I would think I would have understood myself a lot better. Because some of the frustration that I felt in my life, or even the decisions I made in terms of careers, actually came down to just how my brain works ultimately.
Mm-hmm.
So I think having that level of understanding a bit earlier, and I know it's like some people like labels, we don't need all those things, but actually it's that understanding of it's like, no, I'm actually okay. I'm okay the way that I am. It's just that I might view things a little bit differently or struggle with certain things and whatever. So I would say, because that's just really on my mind right now, that's probably something that I wish I could tell younger Amelia, like, it's fine, you're just misunderstood.
So in terms of your mindset, what are some different ways that you've improved your mindset over the years?
Um, Listening to podcasts, I would say. So I love to go for runs. And when I go for runs around my local park, I always listen to a long podcast.
Yeah.
And oftentimes it is about someone speaking about the challenges they've gone through their life and how they got through those moments. And it's always a case of how they looked at the situation.
Mm.
And that's always that reminder for me that I have to tell myself that everything's working in my favor. Even if I feel like it's not going my way, it's going the way it's supposed to go. Because I'm actually I need to go through this.
Mm-hmm.
And for me to get the best out of the situation, I need to be open to it. Because actually life is always going to be, we're always going to have challenges. But seeing it as like, oh, what is this teaching me? What am I learning from this? Rather than why is this happening to me? And even though it's easier said than done in the moment, I might crash out for like 1 or 2 hours, but then I'll get back. I'll be like, okay, no, this is working in my favor. This is working in my favor. I'm gonna make sure it works in my favor somehow.
100%. So you've built obviously quite a big social media following for yourself.
Big, not yet. We're trying to get bigger.
On verbal manifesting.
Yeah, exactly. We're getting there. We're getting there.
So how have you learnt to like translate your authenticity as a person onto social media in, as you say, this current age without anything getting lost?
Transparency. I think authenticity and transparency go hand in hand personally, because it's about the human experience, and that's where we connect on a human level. And also, like, we have different variations of ourselves. And I know sometimes there's probably a coach out there telling you, find your niche, find your niche, find your niche, and then stick to that one thing. We have different interests. We do different things. I've actually come to find that probably my most viral videos on Instagram are me just venting, talking rubbish. But then there's that everyone vents. Everyone goes through these like very little nuanced things. And you're like, oh my gosh, you experience that too, or you think that too. And again, that's just on a human level. So I just allow myself to just be me and all the different things I'm interested in, and then just put it out there.
What do you think the importance of self-expression is, and how do you sort of embody that?
I mean, self-expression is so important, because what's the opposite? Self-deprivation? Like, we need to express ourselves. I mean, to be honest with you, even your name, energy and motion, for me, that's how I describe emotions. This energy and motion. Everything has to move. Like, we're made up of atoms, we're made up of energy. It moves. There's nothing stagnant about the human form. You're either evolving or you're decaying. We're never stagnant. So I think self-expression is, it's almost inevitable. You have to. It has to go somewhere. And if we don't, and if we suppress what we're feeling, it manifests as illness.
Decompression.
Yeah, there we go. Exactly. It's like, it's detrimental to ourselves if we don't express ourselves. And I think anyone who's experienced a crisis in life would tell you that, like, it gets to a point where it has to come out. It has to. You have to express yourself. So that's how important it is. It's literally it's life or death. I actually think you have to express yourself.
100%. What's your creative process like for making poetry?
So I haven't written poetry in a very, very long time, but I would say at the time my creative process was, it would just come to me. And I know that I can't remember who said this before, but someone's described it as like a genius in the sky, and it's like it just comes to you. And I would often feel like the poetry would be coming through me, and I'm like, because I'll just start and I'll just keep going and then it's done. I wouldn't
channeling.
Absolutely, I wouldn't really be like, I want to write a poem about this, and I'll sit there and be like, it would just have to come to me. So I don't really think I think my process was just living life and then allowing me to get things off my chest. That's what it was really about.
What led you into the creative field in terms of education-wise?
So at college, I studied performance studies, English literature and language. I also studied media studies, and I studied psychology for a little while, but I dropped that because the irony was I was dealing with anxiety at the time, so I was like, I can't be in this room when we're talking about panic attacks, because I literally had a panic attack. So I dropped that. So then I was studying the three, but I always knew performance is what I wanted to do. So then I went on to Manchester Metropolitan University and I studied contemporary theatre and performance. And when I joined, I realised I was on the wrong course because I came to act, and the teacher said, if you're here to act, you're on the wrong course. So I was like, okay, we're just going to have to roll with it. It was actually the best thing I could have done for myself, actually. It really opened up my eyes to the world of contemporary art and actually how anything can be art. And we had a lot of philosophical conversations around like someone being on a stage and when are they acting and not acting, and all of this stuff that just really opened my mind to a lot more things and really appreciating art. And I had to put on my own shows, and that was a great skill because coming out of university, I went on to put on my own events. So yeah.
What did acting sort of give to you internally as a person, and what did you aim to give to the world through acting?
So I think acting, or even just performance and drama, I think is so important. And let's say if I was Prime Minister, I would ensure that everyone has drama classes right up until 18, because it's not even just about the performance. You learn so much about presence. You learn so much about confidence, public speaking, projecting your voice, being clear, communication. There's so many skills that you learn in that space there that I'm like, you've got now people that are terrified of public speaking, when actually, if we were studying drama for how long, you wouldn't. Even improvisation is such a skill, and that's probably a skill I use every single day for what I do, because things aren't always going to go right, but you need to learn how to think on your feet. And improvisation is something that I learned within those spaces that was about drama. In terms of what I want to give to the world through the drama that I learned and through acting is, do you know what, when I get on stage, I like to, whether it is hosting events or whatever, well, mainly it is hosting events, it is to take people on a journey, but also to bring them into the present moment as well. Because there is something about when you're in the audience watching something, you kind of forget about everything else that's going on. You're there. I love hosting because it literally is that. It's like, don't worry about anything. I've got you. We're going to have a great time. You're just here to enjoy creativity. Let's just enjoy creativity.
And I think with acting as well is like, it sort of allows people to realise that their self-identity, it's actually like malleable, and like you can sort of like, acting gives people an opportunity to like lean into different characters and different things like that. So I feel like that sort of translates to...
Definitely. I think honestly, drama school or drama classes is, you learn so many skills. And even though I didn't go to drama school and I studied contemporary theatre at university, again, just being in those spaces and, like you said, developing characters, building worlds, my course was very contemporary, so there was no boundaries. If anything, we were encouraged to push the boundaries of what is art. And with that, you're building on your imagination. Everything is but why couldn't we make it this? Why couldn't we push it a bit more this? And then that gives you courage. And there's just so much to it, actually, that when we're practicing that tool of our creativity, you see things differently.
100%. So after acting, what did you transition to from acting?
So when I came out of university, I had my degree in contemporary theatre and performance, which wasn't acting, because they said, if you're here to act, we're not doing that. It's more about performance. I actually was in a pantomime for a little while, best workout of my life. I was a dancing rat, all these kind of things. I loved it. And then I had an agent for a little while. And then I didn't really love the industry. So there's a lot of typecasting. And I actually remember my agent telling me that I wouldn't be able to play specific roles based on my race and my gender and where I'm from. And I didn't really like that, because I thought, what's the point? As you kind of mentioned, it's about playing different characters. It's about playing. And you're telling me I can't play certain things because of what I look like. So I just thought, nah. And that's when I turned to poetry. I said, well, I'll create my own performance in a package form called spoken word, and I'll say what I want to say, like that.
What values and what do you look for internally in people that you decide to work with and collaborate with?
Okay, so when I'm working with people, it's all about shared values for me. As much as we have a shared goal, I'm big on values. I'm values driven. Everything I do really comes down to my values. That's like my inner compass. That's going to help me make the decisions and make sure it's aligned with who I am, what I care about, what I'm trying to build. And it really matters to me that I share those values with people that I work with, because also we're spending time together. Time is really precious. Time is very valuable. And I want to ensure I'm around people that care about what I care about also. So I definitely say it's sharing values, and through that, well, you have to have conversations with people to just like uncover what is it that we actually care about. And sometimes those things are built online. So anyway, you're just like going back and forth in the DMs, or they share something that you're into and whatever. And we all do it though. And that's how you might follow someone, because you're like, oh yes, that's a bit of me, or they're a bit of me, or whatever. So I think, yeah, open communication. I'm open to anyone, but then it's like, okay, let's chat first. Like I said, discernment. Let's chat first. Let's see. And then, yeah, moving forward, then we'll see if we can work together.
So what do you feel like is the biggest challenge that you faced in the industry, and how have you overcome that challenge?
I think there's constant challenges within the industry. I think my biggest challenge that stays a challenge is imposter syndrome. And even though I'm a bit bored of talking about imposter syndrome, because I feel like everyone experiences it. It's something that you learn to just carry on with. But I'm learning as I'm building my career and achieving certain things, you kind of think the imposter syndrome is going to go when you've like achieved this thing, and you finally feel maybe validated for a few seconds. And then you're like, oh, wow. It's like you enter another room of different people and you're like, oh, what, should I really be here? Should I really be here? Should I really be here? And that's tiring. And I constantly am having those internal conversations where it's like, no, you deserve to be here. You deserve to be here. You deserve to be here. But that could be quite hard, especially there's a lot of egos in the creative industry as well. So yeah, I think it's learning to stay grounded also, to stay grounded and to remind yourself that, yeah, you deserve to be in the spaces that you're getting into. Yeah.
I feel like imposter syndrome is like analytics in a way. It's like, when you feel like an imposter, it's teaching you like what things to change in yourself.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, I think any uncomfortable emotion is an invitation actually to explore what's going on ultimately. And I think the imposter syndrome comes from this idea that you're not enough. And that's, I think, a common thought that a lot of us have, that a lot of our issues boil down to is us believing that we're not enough, especially in a world where we get told we're not enough and that you should buy this thing to be enough. It goes hand in hand with consumerism, ultimately. So I think at the same time, it's about being kind to yourself, that we're actually in a world where we're constantly told we're not enough. So of course we're going to believe that sometimes. So it's like every day we have to remind ourselves we are enough. We are enough. And when that imposter syndrome comes, again, reminding yourself, I am enough. But you're right, it could also be, okay, maybe my skills aren't as great as they can be.
I think it's like learning to build like a really deep presence and a really deep identity in yourself, and also being a leader. I feel like even me, like a couple of years ago, like you enter space and, as you say, you don't feel quite right, but when you then enter a space where you feel like you have a leader energy, people pick up on it, and then people actually are more malleable to who you're presenting yourself as than as it being the other way around and you thinking, how's this person perceiving me?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, exactly. I think, yeah, being grounded in who you are and centered in who you are is really important.
What do you feel like, as a woman in the creative industry, what do you feel needs to change around, I guess, the way that people work with women in the industry?
So how can we create more women-friendly spaces within the industry? I think there's a lot of work to be done. We live in a world where there is gender inequality. I also work with a charity that's all about going into schools and actually speaking about gendered inequality, sexual assault, sexual violence, which predominantly impacts women. Not saying it doesn't impact men, but it does. So there are a lot of things that girls and women have been socialized to believe about themselves, to also be cautious about. And I actually think there's a lot that can be done in terms of, firstly, just having more women in positions of making decisions, policy making, having more women in the space changes it. I've been in many rooms where I might be the only woman. And there are things that I have to think about that maybe the men in the room aren't thinking about, even in terms of safety and things like that. And I think when we get to a point of remembering that, even though I say gender equality, it's more about equity, because we have to remember that because of the years of inequality that women have faced, there are certain things that need to be put in place to allow women to feel safer, to bring their best selves. So yeah, I think that's where I would start, actually, with just ensuring women feel safe, firstly.
So, who have been some of the most influential women in your life?
The most influential women in my life, well, obviously my mum, obviously. I've watched her be resilient in life, get through things, encourage me to be the person I am today. So I have to say my mum. I'd also say my aunts as well. I've got quite a few aunts too. So again, they're all very outspoken, charismatic. So I'd say my aunts. In terms of maybe women in the creative industry, who would I say? I know it's a bit controversial because people think different things about her, but Oprah, she really built a whole empire. She built, like, she is the chat show host, and she's gone on now to be able to have a podcast in her back garden. That is like my aim. I want to have a beautiful house, and I invite people around to my garden, and we sit out there and we talk about absolutely anything and everything. So yeah, and I really enjoy the conversations that she has with people and how well she listens in her conversations as well. So yeah, I think in the context of what I'm doing, I would say Oprah.
I wanted to ask about manifestation. So, as a woman, what are some of the different ways that you manifest the opportunities and things that you want in life?
So I am actually, you know what? A friend of mine calls me a master manifester, because he reminds me that anything I say that I want, I manage to get. And I think it's the power of the tongue, speaking it into existence. But it has to be aligned with action. It can't just be you sitting somewhere saying, I want this to happen, this is going to happen, this is going to happen, this is going to happen. And I know there's all those TikTok videos, they're like, this is all you need to do, is just sit there and just say these things and it's going to happen. No, there's aligned action that has to come with it. And I think is intentional action. So yes, say what you want out loud, 100%. and then follow through with that. And then that's where you're going to see, that's when you're going to see things come into fruition as well. Yeah, so I'm a big believer in writing things down as well. I think there's power in like seeing the words. In front of my desk, I actually have loads of post-it notes, loads of I am statements. Everything's working in my favor. I am doing this, I am doing that. So when I'm sat at my desk working, I'm like, oh yeah, that's the aim. Or even the energy. How am I emailing people? No, I am great at what I do. I am kind. I am open. Yeah.
I wanted to go back to a question asked earlier, so around women in the industry. What do you think that women need to learn more of in order to navigate themselves in the industry?
Women need to stop listening to other people too much, is what I would say. I think women, we are really tapped in with our intuition, and we get tricked out of listening to ourselves. There's so much noise on like how you should look, what you should be doing, all of this that kind of breeds this insecurity that sometimes can manifest as jealousy, competition, all of this kind of stuff, when actually we've got to learn to block out the noise. Ultimately, I think we have great innate power actually in just who we are and how our bodies are, and just leaning inside to us, leaning inwards, as opposed to always wanting validation from other people. And I know I've experienced that throughout my life, where I was very insecure and would almost want validation from other people to feel good enough. And that's not sustainable. You can't be waiting for other people to say you're great or give you permission to be great. So that's what I say to women: stop listening to the noise.
What do you feel like men need to do to make women have better experiences in the industry?
So men need to listen. Women need to stop listening to the noise. Men need to listen more to the women. Because again, it is, a lot of industries are male dominated. That things that maybe men are just not aware of, and I've even had to like pull up some of my friends on things that they're just not aware of. And again, it's like listening, reading the room. We mentioned this earlier. Read the room. Everyone has emotions. And this idea that it's like, oh, women have more emotions. That's not the case. Men have just the same amount of emotion.
It's just like, I think it's just like channeling the emotion,
Right,
alchemy and different things.
But we grow up in a society where men are told you can't express your emotion. Like, don't cry. No. I mean, the biggest killer of men under the age of 50 is suicide. There's a reason for that.
I think it's either not expressing it or expressing it and then doing nothing with the emotion.
Well, there's a whole, I mean, we are in a time right now where we're having more of these conversations, because it's like, yes, men's mental health. Okay, speak more about how you're feeling. But how, if you don't even have the vocabulary? If you were told from a boy, stop crying, stop crying, stop crying, and you were never given room to talk about how you actually feel. But now at the age of 50, you're supposed to be told, tell me how you feel. Do you know what I mean? It's like, we need to practice, everyone needs to practice this emotional intelligence, being able to understand their emotions, being able to regulate their emotions as well. So actually, the smashing the TV, if your football team loses, there's no emotional regulation there. And is that coming from a place of so much emotion, don't know what to do with it because I've never been allowed to just have, and most of the time it does manifest as anger. And I could go on for this for time, because I mean, essentially, this is, do you know what, actually, you asked me a question about a woman that's inspired me. Bell Hooks is who I would say. Bell Hooks, the author, brilliant woman. A lot of her books I love. Men, Masculinity and Love is a book I would recommend. And that's where a lot of also this is coming from. It's like how we are socialized and how that manifests in the workplace and how we act with each other.
I wanted to get a bit more into, obviously you've done a lot of work in radio. How did you sort of get into radio presenting and working with the BBC?
So how did I start working in radio at the BBC? This is a story I've told about 10,000 times. And I know a friend of mine will be like, she's telling the story again. So a friend of mine basically signed me up for a competition. So BBC Radio London, they were looking for new voices. They had a pop-up at Wembley in London. And I was at home in my bed. I had no idea that this was happening. my friend at the time who lives around the area had passed the fact that they were having this competition on, and she called me. I didn't answer, so she voice noted me and she said, Amelia, you need to call me back. I've got something for you. I called her back. She said, I've signed you up for a competition. BBC Radio London are looking for new voices. I think you could win this. I'm like, okay, I don't know about winning, but all right, I'll come down. So within 2 hours, I was in Wembley and I was lining up to audition. And what we had to do was we had to just speak for 60 seconds in front of these judges who were radio presenters. And I could hear the people going in front of me. And they were all just like telling stories or trying to be funny. And that's when I was like, no one has done poetry yet. And I knew 2 of the judges were poets. So I was like, I'm going to recite my shortest poem. And then as I was doing it, I knew it was the best decision because they stopped writing down and they put their pens down and they were just looking at me and I thought, sweet. So I got through to the next round. And then that meant I had to come in and record a pilot at the BBC. I ended up getting through to the next round and then they brought me in and then they told me I had won. So that means I won a one-off show. But they also said this doesn't mean that you're going to join the station. We're not looking for presenters. We just want new voices to bring on the station. So I had my one-off show, loved it. I was very chuffed with myself. And then I was ready to just crack on with life, with what I was doing. But I did think, radio presenter, I wouldn't mind actually. And then it was a few months after that I got a phone call saying that there was a slot that had become available on Thursday evenings, 8 till 10. Would you like to do it? And I was like, absolutely. And then that was the beginning of that in 2020. And then, I've been within the radio industry now since then.
What was the most fulfilling thing about being on radio?
For me, the most fulfilling thing about being on radio was the fact that I got to open the door for some people and give them their debut radio plays, their debut radio interviews. And that's what I really, really wanted to do. I mean, being at the BBC, the name sells itself. So it's still a hustle, but you can get the big names. You can get the established artists and creatives. And to a degree, you want to as well, because that's going to help push your career. But I was like, I got in through winning a competition, and that's because someone else signed me up, and that's because they had an opportunity for someone like me. I want to be that opportunity for other people. I want to bring through people where it's like, you don't have a large following. You might only have one track out, or you might only have just started doing what you're doing, but I want you to come in and I want you to talk to the thousands and thousands and thousands of listeners and talk about what you do. And I want to celebrate that. So that was the most rewarding, fulfilling thing for me, to be able to just share this space that I had access to now. And that's, again, another one of my what's the word? My values is like access also. People having access to opportunities. So, yeah.
So, with an upcoming artist, what are some of the key things that you think make an upcoming artist stand out and allow them to grow?
So from my perspective, what I think is really important for upcoming artists is to just keep doing what you're doing. Just keep doing what you're doing. I think for me, a lot of the time when I'd bring an artist on air, I would find joy in finding them myself. So as much as I would get tons of emails from managers, from artists themselves, from PR teams, all of that, I loved when I organically came across someone's video. So just put your stuff out. Just put it out there and see what happens. And just keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it. That's what I would say. Just to keep putting your stuff out there, because you genuinely never know who's watching. Obviously it goes hand in hand with like being direct with who you reach out to and stuff. But I would say just like keep putting it out there, keep performing at shows, keep putting your music videos out there, your clips. Let us into the studio, how you make something. Just keep putting yourself out there is what I would say. And I know it sounds very cliche and a lot of people would say that, but I've come across so many artists that I still support up until now, just because they just put their stuff out there.
I wanted to ask a bit about your time working with BBC Introducing. So what was that like?
So I only presented one of the shows, and that was Cover, basically. So at the time, Jess Izzat was away. And I got to cover BBC Introducing, and I'd been really vocal from when I first started at BBC that I was like, I would love to do BBC Introducing because, like I said, it's all about emerging new artists. So I had a whale of a time. I was allowed to play what I wanted to play. One thing I will say is that there's so much music that is uploaded to BBC Introducing. So actually, to give some tips to artists, if you're uploading your music to BBC Introducing, you want to give as much information as possible, because that's what I found when I'm going through the music. Firstly, if there's any swear words in it, forget it. Just forget it. So make sure your music's clean, because it's not going to get played on radio. Secondly, what are you about? Like, tell me about that. You've got an opportunity to write, to give us some information about who you are, what the track means. Give us that, because that gives the radio presenter something to talk about on air as well. And we want to have something to talk about, rather than you've written absolutely nothing or minimal anything. And now I'm going to have to go and do more work to find out about who you are. Take time, write it in there, but also upload every single track. So Introducing can only play the song once. So even if it's old, upload the track. You're going to heighten your chances. Just upload, make sure it's clean, give us as much information as possible, and then keep it moving.
So something I wanted to ask, this is something I've seen myself, is like, what is the correct way for an artist to approach a radio presenter?
The correct way to approach a radio presenter or radio play for an artist. I wouldn't say that there's a correct way to do it, because there's different ways. However, I would say there are things that you shouldn't do. So do not send just a link to someone's DMs. It's not happening. In the day and age of scams, it's not happening. It's lazy. It's really, really lazy. And on that note, take time. If you're sending an email, personalize it. Say something about what you like about the radio presenter, what you like about the show. If it's just a generic email, that radio presenter's getting tons of emails. They're most likely not going to get back to you on that one if they're so busy. But if they can read that you've actually taken time, then it's almost like, I owe you that time back. So, and I know some people just send out blanket emails. Sometimes they even forget to BCC, so you can see the whole list of people that they sent it through. And then immediately that person might think, well, I don't have to get back to you because someone else will. And unfortunately, like, people are busy. So it's hard to filter through so many emails. So you want to personalize it to stand out, for one. I would also say as well, just being radio ready, making sure it's a clean track. There would be times where I want to play a song, and like, maybe I've got sent an email, I listen to it, I like it, and then I hear an F word, and I'm like, well, I can't play this. Why are you actually sending me the dirty version? I can't play it. So, like, be ready, like, be serious about your craft, and just know that station doesn't allow swear words, so I'm going to send them the clean version, if you've even made the clean version.
So when you're facilitating workshops in schools, what are some of the key things that you like to try and teach the children?
Well, it really depends, like, why I'm there. So if I'm working with a specific charity, they have the content, and I'm just facilitating the workshops. So it could be around mental health. It could be around rape culture, which that's one of the charities I work with. Or it could be around employability skills and getting into creative industries. And when I do those kind of workshops, that's when I have a little bit more say and control over what it is that we're going to speak about and what we're going to do. So in those cases, I bring in stuff like breathing exercises to start the day. I bring in gratitude journaling. I bring in affirmations. And that's how we start the day. We're going to start with the I am statements. And again, getting rid of that imposter syndrome. Breathing exercises so we can feel present in the space. Gratitude journaling so we can feel like grateful that we're here. And then a lot of what I would bring in is confidence building also, which again, it needs to be practiced. But I'm big on, like I said before, those skills that drama gave me, which is about having presence, which is about public speaking, which is about speaking in a way that's confident. Because actually there's so much we pick up from people just from speaking to them, and little things of like maybe looking down or whatever, it's immediately I'm getting a vibe off you here that it's like, I don't know if you actually believe in what you're telling me, especially if we're getting into networking. And it's like, so those are things that I would bring in. But it also, I flow with it. I gather what the needs are in the room and I improvise and bring in whatever it is that I need to bring in.
What advice do you have for creatives who are trying to navigate the business side of the creative industry?
Get a lawyer. That's what I said, joking. For those creators that are navigating the business side of things, I'm with you. That's what I would say. I very much am the creative, have the ideas, all of that. Business side of things, I'm still working out. And you know what I would say? Find people around you that are great at that stuff. Because we're not going to be amazing at everything. And this is when we need to learn how to ask for help to build those communities around us. And chat to your friends that own businesses. Ask them, what are the things that you wish you learnt sooner? What should I be aware of? There's the school of YouTube now. There's tons of videos also, like getting your taxes right. Things like this, which actually you need to get right. But yeah, just you're going to be learning along the way. I think a lot of creatives might struggle with the business side of things as well, because it's like you're essentially taking something like a hobby and now turning it into a form of income. And then along with that are gonna come the things that you might not enjoy, like the admin. I know I don't, for instance. But then that's when you have to remind yourself that it's like, this deserves to be a business. So therefore, it deserves my time and energy to get the admin right. It deserves me trademarking my name. It deserves me to, because I'm taking this seriously. So yeah, that's what I would say.
Something to add as well, I think building a really strong system. I feel like when people feel unsure, that sort of falls back on something in the system not being right or not having a system being in place, because a system is sort of the foundations of how efficiently things will run.
100%. And I think you learn what works for you. And also, to be honest, a lot of people are starting with just themselves at the beginning. So it's going to take time. On average, I think it's about 5-6 years, even longer, that it takes for a business to start running successfully anyway. And I think actually creators remembering that also, that like a lot of business owners, successful ones, have started many businesses and they have not worked out. But they've kept going and they've kept going. It's going to be the same for your creative journey. You might have this idea, doesn't work out so well. Try another thing, keep going. You need to be giving yourself minimum like 10 years, to be honest with you, to start really seeing the success. And that's okay.
So I actually had some lighter questions for you about, I want to know like what sort of music are you into?
Okay. So the music I'm loving, I just love artists who just blend genres. I love the alternative sound, whatever that is. So your alternative rap, alternative jazz. I love alternative R&B. I'm also really back into my house bag right now. I just love house, soulful house, garage. I want to dance ultimately now. I'm back to the point where I just want to dance. So music that's going to make me dance. But I love all kinds of music as well.
So this has been another episode of, actually, could I just give the people your social media handles?
So my name is Amelia Poamz. My social media handle is Amelia Poamz. So that's Poamz, spell Poamz.
Okay. So yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You.
So yeah, it's been another episode of Energy Inside Motion. Thank you for watching.